Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the go live button. We'll go ahead and start it off a little early because that seems to make. Oh, we're going live? I think we're live now, fellas. It worked. Uh,
Oh.
oh no! We turned the camera on. Oh no, it's going to be bad. What's going on, y'all? It's Paul the
So
Barbarian here.
before you turn on the camera,
No, no, no! Turn it off! Turn it off! Um, What's going on, y'all? I'm Paul the Barbarian. We're having another episode of Across the List, Buhurt around the world. Right now, I'm sitting down with Artur and Ollo from Poland. Art, you're currently the team captain for Team Poland.
Yes, currently
Good
team
job.
captain at the 5 versus 5
Okay,
category.
gotcha. And Ollo is your second in command.
sometimes
In name,
trying to
occasionally.
be his shadow.
Make sure he doesn't fuck up nearly as much. There we go. So let's just go ahead and start off. What is your history in the sport? Like tournaments you've been to, all kinds, like different world championships, everything like that. Let us know.
Okay, maybe Ollo. We back to the ancient times.
Back to the ancient times. So I started Buhurt. Probably it was 1997, I think.
Jesus Christ!
There was no Buhurt yet,
Uh-huh.
but I started reenacting, fighting in the armor and so on. 98 was my first tournament, and 99 I went to my first big tournament. Like it was Battle of Grunwald. It's the biggest event in Poland,
Mm-hmm.
and from that time on, I've started to love fighting in steel, and for most of the time it was really frustrating that we are not allowed to fight full contact. We were fighting full contact tournaments, 1 versus 1,
Mm.
but with wooden sticks, no steel weapons.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I don't remember which year exactly it was, but I think it was around 2002 or 2003, something like that, when the teams from Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine started coming to Grunwald. And one day they just came to us and asked, "Do you want to fight all versus all in armor with steel weapons?" Like how all versus all? We are fighting the instanization battle.
Mhm.
No, not like instanization, like full contact fighting.
Yeah, like a real fight.
Why not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And it was wonderful. We got beaten totally, but we were doing it for the first time, and we said, "Oh yeah, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real thing," and that's how it started.
Jesus Christ.
Uh, one year there was some problems with organizing 5 versus 5 organizing mass battles on Grunwald, because the organizers were too afraid of that there will be many injuries, that people will get hurt, and so on. So they banned us. They forbid us organizing the mass battles.
Oh.
So we were speaking with them and started to ask in which form we can fight. We want to fight with the Russians, with the Belarusians, with Ukrainians. Let us fight. How we can fight?
Yeah.
Full contact. And they said that they cannot allow the mass fights, but they can agree to some smaller amounts of fighters. And
Okay.
there was said that it is not more than 5 fighters per one side on the field. And that year we started the 5 versus 5 fights in Poland.
There you go.
And everybody loved it. It was really, it was easier to achieve 10 people and make fights than wait for all the fighters to get for the mass fights.
Yeah.
So we've started to implement that 5 versus 5 formula on basically all tournaments. And so on.
And now we have all of this.
One year,
Yeah.
I had a pack of students which were trained by me and by my friends, and one of them went to his first tournament. It was in Uniev, I think.
No.
No, it was not this.
No, I just started Buhurt in 2009, and my first team was Princess Anna Mercenary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And but this team didn't train as much as I need. That's why I met Ollo, and as Ollo said, he kept eye on me and trained me. And after the half year of training with Ollo, Adam, and other masters, I start doing Buhurt, and I'm right to the Battle of the Nations. The Battle of the Nations was my first tournament. It was madness, but born in BN.
Yeah.
And this was I hope
It was Battle of Nations in Ukraine.
in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Maybe this was the first Battle of the Nations
Jesus.
for other countries. It was
Yeah.
only five representations from 5 countries,
Hmm.
and the Poland was one of them. And this is the first tournament for me, and it was marvelous. It was great. First time I just have beaten by 3 halabards, 3 Russian halabards, and this is my first experience about Buhurt. And
Yeah.
after this, I know nobody hurt me more. Nobody hurt me
Yeah.
as much as at the first my BN. So I'm not afraid anything.
That's a good
Till
start.
then.
Yeah, I think that's one thing about steel fighting, that once you have your first like real tournament match, like being in practicing and everything else like that, you take hits and everything like that, and you know that it is just practice. When you go to an actual tournament and you stand through 4 guys hitting you with halberds because you're in a mass fight and they're there, and you're like, I didn't die. Holy shit, this is awesome. I didn't die. And the smell of steel on steel and the ozone and everything else, it's like, okay, I can do this a lot more, and I can actually enjoy it because I'm not so stressed in the back of my head that I'm gonna die immediately. It's kind of one of those things. Like, how many Bottons, IMCFs, international tournaments you got? Like, Ollo, you've been going to all of them, right?
No, I was almost at all organized Battle of the Nations except the first 2 in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Because I cannot left my country because I had some problems with law, and I couldn't leave Poland. So the first 2 Battles of the Nations was not
Gotcha.
able for me to attend.
Yeah. But
But then they made one in Poland, and I started.
yeah, there you go. There you go. The Battle of the Nations, what, 2012 was in Poland?
Yep.
And then they've gone all over the place and done everything else. You were like me, and you also, like, the first time I fought you, I don't know if I fought you in 2015 in Malberg. Were you on the team in Malberg?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
I think that there was a funny situation when we were fighting you. You ran at me and I kicked you in the chest.
Yes.
And you were surprised that I can raise my leg so high, and I told you that I was aiming for the head, but I slipped.
I like, you were extremely surprised that I kept running at you.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, how did you not stop? I'm like, I'm a lot heavier than most of your team. It's okay. And then you came, like, I then got further back into the corner, and then you came back with a pole arm and made me sit down. My body, I have no idea what happened. My brain was like, I can keep fighting. It's just a pole arm. And then my knees said, hey, you have to sit down. And I sat down in the corner. I was like, oh no. And in that same match, I embedded my single-handed axe into one of your guys' visor. There's a video of that.
16th, I think. Yeah.
Who is that guy? He's wearing that giant, like, all
Black
full
armor.
gothic. Yeah.
It was Tomek Solarski. He was. It's a guy who lives in Spain, but he was playing rugby, I think, as almost a pro.
Yeah.
And then he started to get interested in Buhurts. He bought himself an armor. He fought, like, I think 2 years with it, but he had problems with coming to Poland, training, and personal life, and so on. So he left Buhurt.
Oh, like, I thought, we all thought he was like a semi-pro, like an MMA fighter, like a mixed martial arts fighter or something like that. But if he plays rugby, that makes a lot more sense, because rugby's a hell of a game. That's a pretty tough game to play and put on armor. Like, oh, this is easy. He was a big tough son of a bitch, to tell you what, though.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you guys have been around to a shit ton of Battle of Nations. You've gone and done the tournaments. Have you looked into doing any of the WMFC stuff? Any of the singles fighting things?
Yes, I was doing it quite a few. I think I'm even in the ranking on their side. You had one profit, I think.
One pro fight, but it's those time it was not for me.
Yeah.
For now, I'm focused only for Buhurt from being a captain and develop the team.
Hmm.
And I have maybe I will back to this and try myself, but this is the future.
There's been a major push for pro fights, like CAF down in Argentina. You've got WMFC. You've got M1. They're doing all these different countries are pushing pro fights in a very surprising way. We're seeing a major push in that direction. I think that's more towards making our sport more mainstream, like putting it more like MMA instead of doing the mass battles like we do, because it's harder to follow. It's harder for a fan to understand what's happening in a 5-on-5 fight, but they can watch a 1-on-1 fight and it'll make a lot more sense. That's kind of what I'm seeing. I don't know if you have a similar kind of push happening in your country.
I don't see it right now because profits are popular in Poland from quite a long time, and but it starts to get more similar to the Russian profits right now.
Mm-hmm.
But because a few years later we had not that much ground and pound, not that much wrestling. It was more like a fencing with the possibility to kick and to hit with the shield,
Mm-hmm.
but with less grappling and
It was
not,
more. It was more of a sword fight.
yeah.
It was more
No
of a, it
ground
was
and
more.
pound.
Yeah. I think it's kind of. I don't know how you feel about ground fighting in a pro fight with armor. I think it's interesting. I don't think. Sometimes I think it'll just slow the match down too much, like the action that's going on. I sometimes think it'll change that. But there is some merit to ground fighting. I think there is a place for ground fighting. The pro fights look fun.
Yeah,
Involving the
definitely.
involving ground fighting. But once you get on the ground with armor, you really don't want to do a whole lot more. You're like, I'm here. Let me get back up. It's difficult enough to get back up off the ground with full armor on, anyways. So, eh.
And it's quite a good tactic. I've lost my last serious fight. I think it was with a very good Czech guy.
Mhm.
It was a pro fight event on boxing gala.
Yeah.
And I've lost due to injury of my ribs
Oh.
because he felt on me 3 times during the first round. He just was running at me, getting me, putting me down, and sitting on me.
Dropping all
Like
of his weight on
after
your
third
ribs.
time, I couldn't get my breath, and the fight was over.
Yeah, that's another thing is like if you just keep throwing a guy on the ground and making him get back up, like that just that takes all of the energy out of you to keep fighting. It's one of the things that I noticed in Night Fight. If I threw them on the ground enough times, they wouldn't keep getting back up. They're just so demoralized and so tired they don't want to keep fighting. Kind of one of those things. So I have a question. How is the sport perceived in your country? How do like the general mass, like the general people in your country, how do they like Buhurt fighting?
In my opinion, unfortunately, as a freak fights. I saw in the other mass media, for example, in Russian, maybe in France, there is a Bohut results in mainstream made media,
Mm-hmm.
and we also want to be in this place because for now we are like freaks in the end of the local media, maybe, and we are the topic like for example, before our case, there is informations about the fairy cats, Bohurt, and there is also an old granny into the woods
In her garden.
in her garden, and this we are in the same box, unfortunately for now.
Mhm.
But everything's changed when the people came at the tournament and look how we fight. Everything's changed, and that's why I think we have to make more tournaments in the big cities, because this could involve the people around, and also make us some Buhurt schools, fight schools, medieval schools with teenagers, with the children. This could help to be more recognizable in the all society.
And feed the internet with all the information.
It's the amount the internet age has changed things a little bit more. We can look a little bit more legitimized, a little bit better in the public eye. I do remember in Malberg the local city was very involved with IMCF because it's a major tournament. There's like 500 fighters and support showing up to their city. They're going to be in their city for a weekend. Like, that's bringing a lot of money into the local area, so the local area was very supportive of it. They also have Castle Malberg right there. So they're very used to, and it was also being alongside a medieval festival. Renaissance festivals over here are seen more of like a fun getaway, go out and do the thing, but it's a little bit more play. A little bit more of a fantasy kind of thought process. I think over there, with you guys having all of the history actually being there, it seems a little bit more legitimate with you guys. And being seen
we have
rather
a big,
than...
big separation. There are on one side there are lots of fantasy events like Warhammer battles and so on, but they are always separated from the strictly historical events. And on historical events, on every one of them, there is something like the authenticity committee, which looks if the people have proper armor, proper clothes, and so on. Even the tents or the meals are prepared in the medieval way. So
it's more it's seen more as a reenactment.
Reenactment.
And then trying to separate our sport and make it a sport and not just reenactment, because
it's different it's difficult for people because they are seeing lots of reenactments and when they see us they think, oh, it's another reenaction tournament. We have to make the information that we are sports and we feel like sports.
Most of the time when we have tournaments here in the States, we make sure that there's somebody goes out in front of the crowd, they have a weapon, and they're like, hey, this is real, and then they smash something. Like, that's a real axe, and these guys are really hitting people. Like, it's a real sport. We're not acting. We're not playing it in anything. We're not pulling punches. We're literally kicking the shit out of each other. And it's a hard disconnect that sometimes people have, and I think that's something that our sport is slowly building past. I think we're getting past it a little bit better, just with how the internet is and everything else like that. I've made a bunch of little short videos on YouTube going, hey, people say that our weapons are fake, and then I smash a cinder block, and they're like, oh. I'm like, yes, we're really hitting each other. It's kind of a thing. Do you have any involvement from there's no involvement from your government or anything else like that? You haven't gone to them and go, hey, we're going to World Championships wearing a Polish flag. How about you support that idea? Anything like that?
Nah.
Extremely rare.
It's like it's in Poland. It's easier to get money from small towns, from local authorities. And for example, it's easier to get money for two people who are from a small city and they are going to the World Championship. They are getting paid by their city. But in Łódź, in my city, there are too many sports, too many different activities, and the local authorities are not interested. In the small towns, there is nothing very interesting, not first league teams in any sport, and so on. So they are interested in any sportsmen who are going to World Championship, even if they are knights.
So moving along, how are you dealing with are you guys being able to practice? How's COVID affected your situation? You knew that question was happening. You knew that was going to happen.
Yes,
so
yes. we do what we could to do. For example, all fighters from KSR and also the other teams just singing to the Pulling the Rope Association, because the Pulling the Rope Association is one of the Olympic sport, and Olympic sport are allowed to train in the gyms right now in the COVID situation.
Really?
So, we are the representations of Pulling the Rope, and we could train as usual. And this is how how we could do and how we could train using some underground moves, and we try to do it as often as we can.
As often and as safely as humanly possible. Like with my people, with my team, I send them homework and I'm like, hey, these are the drills you need to be working on. Go do this, and trying to stay on top of them. I mean, we've been at it for what, a year now. The United States has been in full lockdown. I don't know. When did you go in lockdown last year?
March, I think it was.
Yes, from March till June, I suppose, and this year from November till today.
Till now.
And tomorrow they're putting another lockdown.
Yeah, full lockdown. It's a second lockdown. It's a third wave of coronavirus.
But as far as our government said, because they're very cautious with putting out informations, they will give one information a day.
Yeah. It's like little bit.
Yeah. They are going to close all the country on Saturday, but till Friday evening, we don't know how exactly will the law look like.
Yeah.
And so far, as a professional rope pullers, we can train.
that's actually pretty awesome that you were able to get in with that organization and be able to still train and still be able to do things. That's crazy. I haven't heard anything about that from anybody else that I've talked to about this kind of stuff. It's like, that's kind of a weird one. I'm surprised.
It's kind of fighting without our government, because they try to catch us and take us to prison or in the home, but
we are too sneaky.
We are too sneaky, yeah. We are like snakes.
And if you're being safe about it, you're going about it in a safe way. Like, who's to really yell at you about it? We're following protocols, doing all the things, being as safe as possible, kind of shit. But at the same time, the government's going to tell us what they want us to do anyways, because they got more guns than us. So it's kind of how
they've got guns. We got only axes.
Oh yeah, over there, you guys. Have you had any problems trying to organize fights just because of like local laws? Like in Australia, there's a certain like province that doesn't allow swords of any sort. Like a blade can't be longer than 8 inches or something like that. So they have to all use axes. They have this thing called Axe Fest where they're not allowed to use swords. You don't have anything like that in Poland?
It wouldn't be a problem because most of us use axes.
Yeah, fuck it. But you don't have any issues like that. There's no like local citations or anything else like that you have to follow.
No. It's like the same law in the whole country, and swords are allowed as long as they are not sharp.
Yeah.
You cannot wield an in open space sharp weapon, but you can have it for your own needs.
Yeah. Anybody locally that's ever asked me about something, I hand them a sword and go, it's a crowbar. It's a lump of steel. There is no sharp edge. It doesn't have a point. Like you could go and pry up a board with it if you really want to. That's all it really is. It's a steel bar. And I've gotten away with doing a lot of silly things without getting yelled at, surprisingly enough. Sometimes officials come out, like you're at a festival or something like that, and they see you fighting, and they realize that it's not a reenactment, that it's not a show, it's a real fight, and they're like, oh, we have to do something about this. I'm like, no, everybody, it's all consensual. Everybody understands that it's a sport. We're wearing armor. Like, we're not gonna die. Things happen, but you know what? That we can play what ifs all day long, but it's okay. I promise. And it's pretty funny. We had a question.
I've reminded myself one funny story.
Mm-hmm.
there was not issue with a fighter, but once on one of the tournaments we had one of our axes arrested.
Oh yeah.
You had an axe arrested?
Yes. It was like we were fighting. There was a 5 versus 5 tournament, and one of our teams was fighting, and the second of our teams guys were standing near the lists without the helmets, but in armor, waiting for their fight.
Yeah.
And during the fight, an axe broke, and the head of the axe hit one of the guy directly in the open face.
Jeez. Ow.
There was blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Really funny.
And the girl who saw it, somebody yelled, "Call the doctor, call the doctor." And she called 911, of course.
Yeah.
And she said that there was an accident. A guy was hit with an axe.
Ooh. It's like,
So they came, the doctors came, but also there was a police patrol sent to investigate what happened. And they were really surprised that there is a tournament. They didn't know anything about it.
They just the hospital gets a call. Yeah, somebody got hit with an axe, and then the cops are like, "Oh shit, there's a guy running around with an axe. We need to go deal with him." And they show up.
Yes,
Like,
and the policemen were really upset about it. That they thought that someone gets get in the fight with an axe and so on. And we were explaining to them what happened and why it happened and so on and so on and so on. And they took the broken axe as a
souvenir.
Nope, for investigation. Evidence. Oh,
yeah, there you go, evidence.
As a piece of evidence, and it was like a month. It was held by the police, and then they called us to get it back.
Like, we're going to investigate a broken axe head. I'm surprised they didn't keep it and put it on the wall. They're like, this is crazy. This is something we've never heard about before. That's pretty funny. Somebody in chat, Tio Goggles 81. What do you all think about Mongolian armor, or like Eastern European armor?
It looks great, but I know there is a lot of issues because the Mongolian armor have to be made by somebody who really knows about the old stuff, the old armor plates and this kind of stuff. Because we have in Poland a few Mongolian sets, and I suppose the most of all of these sets aren't safe, 100% safe.
Yeah.
So this is my opinion. If this Mongolian armor is really good made, I have no problem with that.
What about you, Ollo?
The Mongolian armor made in Poland are not proof to KSR axe tests.
No.
Two lumberjacks.
Yeah, no. Like with that's Kipchak 1380s, and I have a small plate like Kievan Rus armor that I wear with it. And when I was on Night Fight, Simon Rourke got some serious axe blows, and there's creases in all of the plates. Like there's 4 or 5 plates that just have a line going across them that they're bent. And I'm like, ooh. And people are like, man, you got hit really hard. I'm like, yeah, look at the dude who hit me. He's like he's 6 inches wider than me, and he's like a fire plug. He just hurts people. It's terrible. And like my thing,
he's like a wrecking hall.
Yes, he's very good at it. But like when people ask me about Eastern European armor, I'm like, most historically Eastern European armor uses small plates because they didn't have the metallurgy back then to make bigger plates. And small plates don't disperse force well. They don't like transfer blunt force trauma, which is what we are dealing with. You're not really worried about. They're really good against slashes. They're really good against like pinging some arrows off you. But if you just want to go get clubbed, it's not a good plan. You need to have bigger plates on it and underneath of it and stuff like that. That's kind of been my thought process on Eastern European armor. Not like Western style made by Eastern Europeans, but Eastern European historical armor kind of thing. plus the authenticity committee is got they make it very difficult to buy an Eastern European armor, and they make it very difficult for it.
Yeah.
And we can bitch and moan about the authenticity committee for hours. I have no doubt, but we'll save that. Have you noticed with the sport being put online and being spread out a little bit more? Have you noticed any more of a push for more people getting involved? Do you have more people interested in the sport in your country? Do you see more involvement?
Yeah, I think we see it. We see it because we have a lot of people who look at our fan page, look at our YouTube channel. A lot of people around us interest about the tournaments, just traveling at the tournament. So this is the big thing, I suppose, and we are trying to develop this skill, but it's still not enough in my opinion. We could do better and we could involve more people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it also goes, in my opinion, it goes in waves. Like there is there are waves which start to get people to the sport, like Vikings. After the Vikings released, there was many people who got interested in the Vikings reenactment, but some of them came also to Buhurt when they see that we are fighting with full contact in armors. They've said, "Oh, I want to do it." And like, it's sometimes it's not a problem that not enough people come to train, but there are not many people who are interested that deep that they are staying. That's the problem. Is most of I was when I was training guys from KSR, almost every year I had some young guys who, after 1 or 2 years training, they were going to the national team, at least for the 16s versus 16s, and some of them get to the 5 versus 5s and so on. And it was like every year, someone new.
Yeah.
But they didn't stay. Most of them did that for like 2, 3 years, 4 years, and then life gets them, and they're going back to be normal.
As a sport, there's a lot of like things that you don't think about that cost a lot of money: travel, armor repair, getting a new suit of armor, having to change your suit of armor, training constantly, and trying to go around to all of these different tournaments to get into Buhurt Prime. You have to go and travel a lot to go and do these fights to be able to like make your team worthy enough to go to Buhurt Prime. It's the top 10 teams. And you have to have a really dedicated group of people to try and do that.
I think this is some kind of Buhurt identity. If somebody had Buhurt identity, he will stay and he will be to the end of his life or his bones. But if somebody don't have it, this will be some kind of experience, some kind of I don't know, kind of something only for now, for a few weeks, for a few years, and then we'll just go and do something else.
Like, here's this crazy thing I did in my late 20s that took a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And when I got out of my late 20s, I didn't want to do it anymore because I didn't want to get hurt, kind of thing. Like, it was something they did in the past that was really fun. They took a lot of good memories from. They're like, I don't need to do that anymore. I've done it. Like, been there, done that kind of thing. And it also depends on, as I see it, it depends on how much your team, like your community, is about either really having fun or going and competing hardcore. You can compete and still have fun, but it's that level of competition that you or your team are pushing for. I think that kind of depends on how long you keep people and how long you can keep people engaged. Because if you have the fun, like let's go and have fun on the weekends kind of beer league, where you have 1 or 2 fights a month and you practice once a week or something like that, or if you have a team that wants to try and go to Buhurt Prime, or you want to win gold medals at Botten, you're practicing 3 times a week, you're seeing each other a lot, you're going and traveling to tournaments, you're going all over to do the thing, and that's the main focus, and you're putting a lot more effort into it. I think sometimes that turns people off, and they're like, I don't want to be at that level of commitment, I just want to go and have fun sometimes. So certain clubs will run the more like lower scale people out, and they'll just keep going and doing what they're doing. I don't know, just one end of the view.
For these people, as you told, we have the second league in Poland. We just start this idea this year. Last year, but this is those season. So we have a second league in Poland, and this league, it's out of Buhurt League.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for the beginners, for the people from reenactment,
or for people who want just to have fun.
Yes,
yeah.
Just to want to have fun. You are retired tonight. You could try yourself with the beginners and the people who.
I'm not going there. Not yet.
No, not yet. I'm gonna keep getting my shit kicked in by the young guys that are hungry as fuck. It's just been one of those things I've noticed. Like people come into the sport, you see them for a few years, and then they leave the sport. They're like, I don't need to have all that extra pressure. They don't need to be trying to compete at that level, kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to come in and just go and have fun once a month, that's perfectly fine. Really, Buhurt is for everyone. It's a very non-denominational sport. Everybody can come and put on armor and get the crap kicked out of them, or try to kick the crap out of somebody else. It's about the idea of pitting yourself against another man that sometimes people get a little quirky about. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, but I think there are also some people who, when they start with us, they get to really high level in really quick time.
Mm-hmm.
And they've realized that to stay on that level or to explore to higher level, they need to train even more.
Who'd have thunk?
They need to put more effort.
Yeah.
And then when they, for example, their work, it's not letting them do that, or they have financial problems, or I don't know, some family problems.
Yeah.
They have to pull a little bit back. Being in the second squad or being in the another team and going to tournaments and lose everything, it's not enough for them.
Yep.
They want to be on that level, but they cannot afford it, so they resign totally.
Yeah.
I think it goes this.
Yeah, you realize that being up top requires this amount of work, and if you only have time to put in this amount of work, you can't just stay at this top level. Like, you're gonna go down at some point in time. And it's also just a tough ass sport to, like, you kick the shit out of yourself for a good while. Like, injuries, as you get older, injuries get harder to deal with. You have to make sure that you you roll your eyes, Ollo, sure. But what's the worst injury you've had?
Worst injury? I think it was the one with the shoulder. It was an injured, pulled off one of the heads of the muscle in the shoulder, in the back. It was pulled off after hits with the halberds. And I needed to go to a surgery. It was supposed to be an arthroscopy, but when the doctor looked inside and see what happened there, they had to open my shoulder and do a proper surgery. And like for 3 months, I was my arm was like that. I was going to work with arm like that.
This is like, I have to live like this for the next 3 months. This is going to be great. This is terrible. What about you, Art? Any terrible injuries?
Not very dangerous. Also, the most dangerous was some with my knee. So this is all what I have the most important, the most hard. But as everybody in Buhurt, after the tournament, you have a lot of hitting in your armor, in your arms. You have hit it in your legs, so nothing special.
Yeah.
The most definitely is my knee, but I rid of this problem.
Knees are a big thing with here in the States because most of us are bigger guys. But running around and doing everything and putting the weight on your knees and everything else like that's a very important joint. I've always pushed people. I'm like, look, if you think you have knee problems or you want to like keep from having knee problems, wear knee braces. Like build it in. Understand that what you're doing is gonna beat up things. You need to like be proactive about taking care of yourself instead of taking care of yourself after you get hurt.
Just squat.
Yeah, just squat more. Just do more squats.
Just squat more.
Just squat more. Like that's what you get. Like there's a video.
Tired of squats? Do it on one leg.
There's a video of you guys doing squats on a on a yoga ball. Like go do those. Yeah.
Yep.
Perch yourself
this is
up.
This is one of the exercise which developed the knees, developed your balance.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of stories and a lot of perspectives on this type of exercise because there's that advantage and disadvantage. There are people who allowed and who disallowed this because it caused this is some kind of the trick, not the exercise. But in my opinion, it's a good, very good exercise to develop your balance, develop your joints,
Core
knees.
muscles.
Yes,
Yeah.
core muscles, exactly.
I mean,
So-
we have these things called balance boards where it's flat and there's a ball underneath of it and you have to like balance yourself. I think that's probably a little safer than using a yoga ball. It gets the same
Yeah.
thing, but like
Both-
making yourself balance and then do squats at the same time, it builds all of those core muscles and being able to maintain your balance and keep yourself up, which is the main reason. The main thing in the sport is stay standing. So it makes sense a lot. And you have to develop all of those muscles to actually be good. And sometimes they're like, I just need to be strong. I'm like, no, you need to be able to stay standing and be able to like keep moving, kind of thing. Muscle. I don't know. I deal with a lot of guys that are like strong men. They go and pick up lots of weight and they move stuff. I'm like, no, you need to be able to like move too. You can't just stand there and pick someone up. You have to be able to run and do it, which sometimes
And
confuses.
then breathe.
And then breathe. Yeah, breathing's a very important thing. So in your training, have you moved to using foam? Have you started using more of this foam armor and foam sticks that everybody else seems to be pushing for?
Yes, we use it. We use it very often. I suppose 2 times a week. We have a train with foam. We call it soft equipment. So we train with it. But in our training, we think we should train more in the armor. Because it's okay to train tactics, techniques, right techniques, but we have to minimum once a week been at the full armor.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be prepared to the another tournaments to how to our muscles prepare to the weight of the armor and all scale of this, how to move with it.
And there are some things that you can do in soft armor, but then you put normal armor and you realize that it's not possible.
Yeah.
Because my arm is not bending like this, or my leg is not bending like this,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to switch the technique or switch the armor.
Yeah. Well, we all know that you can be the fittest human in the world. You can do CrossFit. You can go and do all of these crazy workouts and everything else like that. But you are not armor fit. You may be fit and athletic out of armor, but once you put on armor, you're like a 10-pound weight, and it takes forever to do things, kind of thing. I've seen people. I've heard people say like every other week you do a full steel practice. Every week you do a steel practice. Every practice is a steel practice. I sometimes think that if you do it all the time, you just beat the crap out of you. You beat up your expensive armor too fast, and people get hurt more. Doing a lot of steel, like full steel, like practicing all the time in steel armor.
We sometimes do trainings in full armor, but with not with steel weapons, but just with plastic ones, Ertalm.
Yeah,
It's like
fiberglass. It's a
fiberglass.
fiberglass.
Gotcha. Using like plastic wasters or something like that.
It's not destroying armor that much. It's not hitting that much, but you can practice all the grappling moves and all the tactics in armor,
Yeah.
but without so much hitting.
It also takes forever to get 10 guys in armor. Like at practice, you're like, okay, we all need to put on armor. Okay, we take an hour to do that. No. Like put on the foam stuff. It takes 10 minutes. Let's go. We have to start practicing. We have to get things done.
It's one of the things, one of the basic things on our camps, trainings, and so on, that the new people have to learn to put their armor in maximum 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to have your armor prepared that you can put it in maximum 15 minutes.
One of the stick fighting one of the stick fighting groups I'm a part of, we have a contest. Who can put on their armor the fastest to go to the fight, and whoever wins gets to fight the next fastest guy and kick the crap out of him.
Damn.
Like, you know how you win? You
That's
fight
something that we can implement.
There you go. I'm seeing more of a progression in skills, and people are learning faster by using foam a lot more than just going out and fighting in steel. Like the foam,
it's easier to start.
Yes. It's only like $200 to get in instead of $3,000 to get a full steel suit of armor. And you're actually able to practice more and get more repetitions of the practice. You're actually able to do a lot more in the time that you have. Just things that I've noticed. I don't know if you've noticed that kind of stuff. So just checking some stuff. Where do you see the sport going? What do you see? What do you see the sport developing into?
I think the sport. I hope to the professional sport, but for now we are not even the amateurs because I'm just finished the sports school. I'm the master of dietitian and the bachelor of the master of the sport management. And I see how looks the professional sport and amateur sports, and we are maybe the close to the amateur, but not exactly for now. Of course, in Poland, because we need to create some association, and this will be the big step to be an amateur sport, to have a permission to give some grants, to give some money from government, and to start doing sport with the law, with our law. So I think this year, maybe next year, we will develop this and figure out this problem, and then we will. I hope we will be one step closer to the professional sport. But as I said, and also the HMB make a lot of good things, and I think they are really close to professional sport. Maybe there is a professional sport in Russia, but in the whole world, a bit closer.
Yeah. Ollo, any thoughts?
It's just one addition that we as a national organization in Poland, we are a part of non-Olympic sports society. And we are working with the society to make our sport also better known in Poland. So I hope we will achieve some goals in this.
I think if the Russian government will go, okay, this is actually a sport, this is a real thing, it'll start. Other countries will notice and they will see, and they'll be like, okay, like Russia's with it, and then a couple more of the Eastern European countries go, okay, sure, we'll support this, and then it slowly goes further and further west and west and west. It's kind of a hope that I see as the domino effect, from one to the other to the next, that I can actually get the United States government to go, hey, you guys are pretty cool, like it looks like a sport. but at the same time, everything for the U.S. Olympic team is all privatized. It's all supported by private companies and everything else like that. The U.S. government doesn't really throw any money at that, and that will always be the issue in the United States, is that we are more of a privatized situation than we are, like, we don't have a Ministry of Sport. We don't have any government like organization like that, or any government departments like that. So it's kind of a wishy-washy, figure out which way it'll go kind of thing.
I was always hoping for a great development of our sports by television. But in these times, internet is more valuable than television. There are more people watching internet than watching television. So it's not that much of an issue right now. But when I knew that you are doing this Fight Club Night Fights program, and that it's going live, and that's there will be real nights, our fights in television, I was very excited about it.
Did you actually see Night Fight?
Yeah.
What'd you think of it? Pavel has some very specific words about Night Fight, but how do you feel about it?
Generally, I very like the idea of the program, and I even like the idea that there will be historical events like Romanians and barbarians, and so on. It was a nice idea.
Not well executed.
Something went wrong. In terms of armors and preparation, but the fights were really exciting.
I mean, that's the thing that some people ask. They're like, were you guys really coerced into fighting some specific way or anything else like that? I'm like, no, all of the fights are real. They didn't fuck around with any of that. When I was on the show, I basically threatened I didn't really threaten them, but I told them, like, look, don't take what I've been doing for the last 6 years and make it look like shit. Don't make it look so stupid that nobody will take us seriously, because we are really, it's a risk. We're putting ourselves on the line, kind of doing this, going out and doing this crazy thing. Don't make it look stupid. And they're like, okay, not a problem. We can do that. And I feel that they, as a piece of entertainment, it was very well done. Like, it's entertaining. It's fun to watch. It's not the exact representation of our sport, but it is good. We saw a major push from people in the United States once they saw Night Fight. We have a whole generation of fighters that came in because of the show. As many detractors have about the show, I'm like, it did do some good. Like, I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not, like, defending it. It's not the hill that I'm going to die on. But it was a fun show. It was a fun product. It is what it is. So it's kind of been a thing that I've seen. How do you think in your local, like, how do you think that you can push things in your local area a lot more? You think starting a kids league with the foam fighting is a better idea to get more people involved?
It's a great idea in my opinion. We have to set up the sport clubs, and this will help us to increase and make a better share in the Poland. And for now, we need a fresh blood, because all our fighters just have a good results in Buhurt. But who's next? We have a really less young fighter in our teams, and we just try to find some people who want to fight, who want to fight Buhurt from some kind of MMA, box, jiu-jitsu or something. And also we try to involve the people around us, our friends, our colleagues, people what we just met at the tournament. And that's why we try to find a new fighters. But when we have a professional sport club with teenagers and the kids from elementary school, this will resolve our problem. This will solve our problem.
It's like we have very good school in Orzeshe. It's like they're training kids, and this young fighters are winning second, third place in tournaments in Russia, in Ukraine,
Yeah.
and it's great because they're really learning how to fight. Even when they are not 16, 17 years old or 18. So when they grow up, they will be ready to fight.
Yeah.
Just fresh fighters already learned. They know everything.
And
in
you're
Warsaw
also.
we have the
Oh, go
second
ahead.
school.
Yeah.
No. Also in Warsaw we have the second school,
Mhm.
and they have also very good results of trainings.
We need more of them.
Yes, we always. I think that's a major thing. Is like, if you have a school, it legitimizes what you're doing. Like you're able to go, hey, we have a location, we're doing this thing, it's more organized, it looks professional, and more people will go, oh, okay, I'll send my kid to that. That seems like a good idea. If it's a bunch of dudes in the middle of the park, like a bunch of unprofessional looking guys walking around in t-shirts and jeans, it doesn't look nearly as
Drinking
good.
beer.
Yeah, drinking beer and shit. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna watch my kids and make sure they don't kill each other with foam sticks? That doesn't seem like a plan. Oh yeah, no, not gonna work. I think the other thing about getting the kids involved, then they see videos of Buhurt and they see all of us doing Botan, IMCF, Prime, all these things, and they're like, I want to do that. I want to be those guys. And that, like, getting it, like, putting it in their head and giving them a goal like that, they're like, that looks awesome. I want to do that. That drives that drives them towards our sport rather than them going into boxing or MMA directly after that. That's the thing about recreational leagues, the younger leagues like soccer or football for you guys, rugby, karate, all that kind of things. As they get older, they're like, I like doing that thing. I'm going to keep kind of doing that thing as I get older. You have to do the same thing with Buhurt and sword fighting.
Yes.
I watched youth fencing, and I realized that all of those guys will probably go on to some Olympic level of fencing and epee fighting. And I'm like, why aren't we doing that? Why don't we have that more? And I think that's a thing that we can seriously see more of. It's just finding the ability to finding an insurance company that said, yeah, you can go ahead and hand sticks to kids and let them hit each other. That's fine. Yeah, like figuring out somebody that'll be like, okay, we'll insure you for that. Ooh. Like, I'd be surprised. And finding places to do it. There's not a lot of money in Buhurt right now. There isn't. Like, nope. So, like, finding the money to be able to support those kinds of things is a difficult prospect, as it were. Do you think that a beer league, like a casual league, grows the sport more rather than like a high elevated like competition league like Buhurt League?
I think the Bohurt League will help to do it because the Bohurt League gives us the professionalism. The Bohurt League deliver also the motivations to develop, to train, to ride at the tournament at 100 kilometers to just fight. And this could help to develop our Bohurt society. But there is also something what we could do for the Bohurt, because we just thinking about what we could receive from somebody, received from Bohurt League, received from our city hall or something. But we have to think about what could we do by ourselves. And we could do a lot as we talk about the whole thing. We talk about the sport, the Bohurt schools. We talk about the people who manufacture full weapons, that manufacture armors and weapons. And if we will buy something from these people, they could develop themselves. They could be better and better and better, invest in his business. And that's how we could improve and help all Bohurt, all society. And also at the sports schools, when we start and when we just fight, we have to earn money, we have to make money, and when we have a money, we will receive the high quality of the Buhurt and of the all service. So this is the way which we could do right now, you and me and everybody in Buhurt, in Poland, in the world, if we a bit change our thinking.
It's like the question you asked in the beginning. It was the thing we were thinking about when we started the second league. We were thinking if it gives us a progress, or if it will let people who don't want to get so much involved. Oh, right now we have our league. Well, we can do Buhurt without training so much. The level is not too high for us, so we can fight.
Yeah.
But the more teams and more fighters. Even if the second league, even if maybe in 5 years there will be a third league or something. There are still fighters. And there are still opportunities for the newcomers to come to this kind of team, learn something, and then think, I need more. I want to be better. And starting to develop. So from one side, you need a good league, like Buhurt League, like Battle of the Nations, like Prime.
You need to have a goal.
Tournaments. To see the level of the fights and to see how the good fighters are doing it, but also you need lots of tournaments to practice and lots of opportunities to fight. So the more fighters there are, the more you can train or fight.
And the more teams and the more fighters you have in that casual league, they get more competitive and they get better because they have more fighting. Like you have more eyes on the sport, you're going to get more people involved in the sport, right? Like that's...
And we also want to do like for the second league, there are not authenticity committee, not so much tests, but all the things you have to be safe.
Yes.
Your armor has to be safe.
Main goal.
That's the main goal.
Yeah.
So when they will get better and they want to go to the higher league, they will probably buy good equipment and better equipment.
They'll invest more in something that they've done casually for a little while, and and the ability to buy used armor that is safe armor, but you can get it in chunks and pieces, whatever will fit you and work. If you don't have to worry about an authenticity committee yelling at you about it, oh, this doesn't match this, or this doesn't use this, it makes it a lot easier for you to get armor a little bit cheaper, because you can buy used armor from other guys that are getting out, and you can put together a safe suit of armor, which safety is paramount. Like, we have no doubt that safety is the highest thing that we want. We don't want people dying doing the sports. It's not
or
good
get
press.
Injured and not fight again.
Yeah, like that. Don't break the toys. We don't want the toys to get broken. So I think that's a really good thing, and that's kind of the thing that we see in the States. Like, look, if you don't plan on going overseas, don't so much worry about getting into the authenticity. You want to have a suit that matches, kinda, but if you're not planning on going overseas, or you don't plan on going over for a couple of years, like, get what you can, go start fighting. Like that. What do you think? What's the top 3 things for a new guy to get involved in the sport? The first one I could probably guess.
I think that the first thing is put this guy in the armor and see how it goes.
The first thing is go do it.
He takes off the helmet and says, "Hell yeah!" That's our guy.
Yeah, that's the guy we want.
He takes off the helmet and says, "I'm tired." That's not our guy.
I mean, he could be the guy. Like, I had a lot of fun, but I'm exhausted. I'm like, okay, you had a lot of fun doing it. We can work on that. Every time I've asked that question, the first answer is, go do it. Go fight. Go fight once. Yeah, go fight. Like, go do the thing. And that's what I was like, I can probably guess your first like thing to that is like, go actually try the sport out once. And that usually is enough to either go, hell no, I don't want to do this, or hell fucking yeah, let's go do this. Like, it's one of the either option usually. What else would you suggest to a new guy getting into the sport?
I agree with you guys, and I could say only what I see as a captain. If I take a look at the fighters,
Mm-hmm.
I need two factors is most important in my opinion is humility and ambitions. And if we have a fighter, yes, it's the right combination of these two.
It's a very different ends of the
Yes,
spectrum kind of
because
combo.
I will explain. Because if you are humble
Mm-hmm.
and the humble fighter after the fight which we win, which we won, uh, tell us the team won, not the I won. The
Mm-hmm.
team won. This is the very big difference. And also the ambitious is to I want to hear from my fighter, then I want to fight and defeat the best Russian teams.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, in my opinion, the right combinations of these two factors.
Humility saying that they can learn, they can take criticism and be able to work on it, and the
Yeah,
other end of the ambition of like I want to go murder, I want to go win Buhurt Prime. Like that's a hell
yeah,
of an ambition, that's a hell of a goal, but they have to have the humility and the understanding and the self-confidence to work to that goal, because we're going to lose a shit ton. You lose fuck tons in life. So why like don't you can't allow yourself to be beaten down by those losses. You have to take them as a learning experience and then building upon those experiences. It's very important for personal development, team development, and getting to the end of those goals, kind of thing. I had somebody ask in chat, don't you think putting on armor the first on first to try can lead to injuries? Since it's not controlled, no. That's I there is the possibility that they can get injured, but that's the same possibility that we always have walking into the list. I mean, we're all willingly walking into a blender. We all understand that there's a risk going into it, and you make sure that that guy understands what that risk is and make sure that they're safe. Make sure that you're putting them in a suit of armor that's safe. Make sure their helmet doesn't jostle around a shit ton on their helmet. Make sure that like they're kind of okay going in to get hit by a guy, and make sure that the other guy knows that hey, this is their first time in armor. It's not exactly gonna work the best. Don't try and kill them. Give them a taste. I think that's more of a thing, and that falls back on leadership and making sure that the leadership understands the levels of the fighters that they're dealing with, kind of thing. Meh. Thoughts?
It's like we always were thinking about it. Like when we had women's fighting with us
Mm-hmm.
in on different tournaments, because it was like in Poland, it was for a long time that women was fighting with men in one tournament, because
Same thing.
there was no separate tournaments for women, because
Yeah.
there
No.
was not enough women who wanted to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some which wanted to fight, and we cannot forbid them.
Yeah.
So they were going to the men's tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like always, guys, watch out! In this team we have a woman, so you have to be more careful. And the same was like in this fighter is new guy, don't hurt him too much.
Yeah, I think when we have women on teams, like they usually usually the girls go up and go, "Hey, fuck you! I'm fighting with you. You can hit me." Like my thing is equal rights, equal fights. Like if a woman's in there, I'm not gonna pull my punches in any way, shape, or form. But I'm not gonna like try and murder them. I'm not gonna hit them specifically harder because they're a woman. I'm like, no, you're gonna get the same level that I throw at everybody else. I might not try and concuss you like I try and concuss some of my other friends out there, just because I'm just going to throw you on the ground and go deal with the next guy. Um, but that's the same. That's the same thing that we've had here in the States, is that our women fight with the dudes, and I'm like, good for them. They can hang tough. When they go to a women's tournament, they're going to kick the fuck out of them because they've been practicing with us for the last year.
That's it.
They're going to be a lot meaner. So, what else would you tell a new guy coming into this?
What else? I just remembered about one story because, as I said, first of all, I start Buhurt with Princess Anna mercenary, and then Ollo just bought me. It's a funny story because how much is my transfer value? My transfer value is 2 packs of beer. It's around $5-10, and I mean.
I can
Before
follow it.
first PM.
Yeah.
Now
you have to pay more.
Now you have to pay
it's
more.
only three packs of beer.
I have gone up in value. I've gone up 1 extra 12-pack. You have to buy an extra 12-pack. And like I've had people ask me if I want to come and fight with them, and I'm like, you get me there, I'll fight. Like if you're offering to get me someplace, I'll fight. Or I'll show up, you go buy me dinner. Like it has to be a nice dinner though. Yeah, it has to be a good dinner. Or just buy me groceries and I'll go make the dinner because I'll probably make it better than the restaurant we're going to. One other thing I've kind of noticed about our sport, we've been talking about fighters a lot. We've talked about a lot about fighters and bringing in fighters, bringing in more support and building the support community around the fighting community, because it's just as important, if not more important, because as fighters, we don't want to have to, like, we can't do that job that refs do, support do, armorers do, timekeepers, score counters, all that kind of stuff. You have to build your support community around the fighting community, and you have to make sure that you support your support community as well. You can't just go, okay, we're here to support the fighters and you guys are our slaves. That's not how it works. Nobody will stick around for that. I think it's really important that needs to be done. Like, do you guys do anything to help out your support community in any way, shape, or form? Do you like pay them or anything else like that? That's one thing we've been calling about, like paying refs is a thing.
We always have the same problem and issue. Right now we have quite professional support in our club, and we are proud of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
We have a really professional support team, which is very dedicated to the team, and they are doing all the things, starting from putting armors on us and finishing with management on all the road, on the trip, and so on. But I remember a few tournaments when there was some new guys who wanted to fight with us, and we said, okay, come with us, you will help us, and you will see the tournament, and you will see how it goes. Maybe later you put on some armor and do sparring with someone to see how it's fighting, and so on. And always after the first tournament, somebody went there as a support. The next words was, I don't want to be support anymore. I want to fight. And we lost another support.
There's also the thing where fighters are like, I don't need to fight in this tournament. I'm going to support for this tournament, or I'm going to ref for this tournament, or something like that. And that's a hard decision to say, I don't want to fight.
But sometimes you can do it when you're injured, or when you're recovering from an injury. I was always like refereeing or being support or doing something.
You're wrong. Stop that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I can see you walking around with a staff going, stop that. By the way,
we appreciate our support team. Is a special dedicated support team. Ada and Gucha. I hope you listen to this.
We have Anya Bera just showed up in chat. What's going on there? Saying hello. And
hello.
Igor Bergman. Greetings from Poland. It's just
greetings.
Greetings. So it's been one thing that I've noticed among the different leagues is that you really need to build that community alongside your fighting community, because they both matter. They really fucking do. And if you don't take care of your support's gonna leave. They're gonna go, and you're gonna have a much harder time about doing this shit.
There is also one thing. We were talking about fighters who come to Buhurt and who leave because of injuries or some problems. There are also some kind of like rule. If both people in family are involved in Buhurt, it's hard to leave.
Yes.
Because there's always that second part of you who is still involved.
Yeah.
And when there's like a man or woman is doing Buhurt, and his other half or her other half is not following it, not liking it even, don't want to go to the tournaments, that's a main goal that people are leaving.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to argue inside the family.
Yeah, you don't want to piss off your partner that's coming with you to these things. They're like, I just don't want to go anymore. Fuck that. And they're like, oh, okay, you're not going to be super happy when I go to the tournament then. They're like, no, I'm not. And then that usually ends a fighter's career sometimes. It's just like catches you. So we've got people from Denmark. The secret password is apparently Fallen Bear. I don't know what that means. That sounds like that inside joke. I don't know what that means. If that's making a commentary to Anya Berra, you can take that up with them. I don't have any reason to yell about them. So I have a question for you. You guys, you fought in Prime, right?
Yeah.
Both of you. How do you see the meta? Is the fighting different at Prime compared to like Baden or IMCF or your bigger national tournaments that you go to?
The ring was squared. The ring wasn't squared. It was a circle.
It was a circle. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That was the main reason. That's the main difference.
But also the pressure. The pressure is really, really big, and a lot of fighters couldn't care of this feelings inside. And this was people who look at our fights before the Prime and at the Prime. They are just don't know what happened with our team, because we are not enough good in Prime. We have to develop ourselves. We have to get better. And I think this big tournament, big teams which we have to fight, and this pressure shows and give us a big disadvantage at this tournament.
Go ahead.
I think all of our fighters were a little bit shocked by the level of the organization, or the especially when we first came to Monaco. It was like, whoa, everything was so professional and so like set up like every minute. We had rehearsals how we enter the lists or so on. So it was a little big pressure on everybody that it's on so much high level for us.
When you compare going to Baden, where you pay for you pay out of pocket to go to Baden and everything else like that, Buhurt Prime pays for you to come, and they take care of you, and they treat you like an actual athlete, not an amateur athlete like Baden does, where you have to do everything yourself. But Prime is treating you like a professional fucking athlete. And then all your job is to perform. And then you're like, oh no, all my job is to perform now. I don't have to worry about everything else. Oh shit. I think that's that level of anxiety that gets into your head. And I had issues with that the first time I went to IMCF in Malberg. When I went to Baden afterwards, I was like, oh, I'm just here to, I'm over that. I don't care about that anymore. I'm going to have fun fighting. I'm going to enjoy myself. We're going to do the thing. And it's just another fight. Even though it's international stage, it's just another fight. I tried to get that in my head when I was in Malberg. And I was like, I couldn't get my head wrapped around it. And it affected my fighting. And I can definitely feel you understanding, going to Prime and feeling like you fucked up because of what the level was at that point. What about the actual fighting? Is there anything different in the actual type of fighting that you do when you're at Prime? Is the strategy different? Do you notice anything different in the fighting?
We have prepared strategy, but it's not very good prepared to the circle fences. And we have a problem because a lot of fighters, as I said, the big pressure, a lot of fighters don't handle this, and have also the problem with the armor, which we don't have a problem with that. And now we we know how it was our weaknesses,
Mhm.
and we want to develop it. And I hope in the next tournaments, the all Bohult world will see a new KSR with new moving style, new moves, and throws, and tactics, of course. So I couldn't say nothing more.
No, hell
but
no.
It's a little secret.
but
Oh,
we try to be a better, and we know our weaknesses.
mhm.
We'll see, and you will see.
Yeah, I hope to.
I hope there will be any more prime.
Yeah. Do you feel like being only the top 10 teams? Do you think there is another, like we could do another Buhurt Prime? There could be two Buhurt Primes, like something of that level where you take top 10 teams or something like that.
But they've made another tournament for the next 10 teams
Okay.
in Bohun. Prime is for the best 10, and there is another tournament for the
The next
places from
10.
10 till 20.
Okay.
And it was also a great tournament. From when I was watching it, I think it could even be, it was not the same level as Prime from the side of organization,
Hmm.
but the fights were more equal, I think,
Yeah.
on that tournament.
Really. You thought that everybody was more equally matched. Like once you have top 10, their skill levels here, and then the next 10 are like here, like but they're really close to one another in skill set.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think that the farther you are from the top,
Mm-hmm.
the more equal you are with the teams near you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's easier to jump from 20 till 19
Mm-hmm.
than from 11 till 10.
Yeah. It's very hard to break into that top 10 comparatively. So. Now internationally, what do you see different? Like we have a much different way of fighting over here. Our meta is very different. How do you feel about American fighting? Do you watch a lot of American fighting?
We watch a bit, and we see, because it looks really fantastic, because it's strong hits, big guys with huge armors, and just we see this American style. It's very, very good to watch, and enjoy to watch. So I also see a few fights, and this strange fences is really, really interesting in my side.
I personally watch lots of fights from the executioners.
Mm-hmm.
Because they use axes and they do it good.
Yeah.
I like to watch it. But I think you guys are better in physical shape. You're lots of bigger guys,
Yeah.
lots of tall guys, strong guys, maybe former footballers and so on, who know how to run, who know how to train people.
Mm-hmm.
And from that side, I think you develop a better level of field movement, for example.
That's one kind of commentary that we hear in the States, is that watching European fighting is boring because of like a lot of rail hooking. Like
Lots
you watch,
of rail hanging.
yeah. In the States, we don't have that nearly as much. We have like guys that are running across the field to hit people with big two-handed axes and stuff like that. When you watch Partisan 1 versus White Company, it's a grappling match with some movement, like they're switching teammates, but there's nothing really dynamic. They're not doing anything crazy or big, and that's not entertaining to watch nearly as much unless you understand what they're doing in that grapple. They think, oh, they're just hugging on each other and trying to figure it out. I'm like, if you actually understand the higher level of what's happening in that grapple, then you'd actually appreciate it a lot more. But people don't see big axes swinging, so they call it boring. It's one of those things I've seen. Plus, I mean, you guys in Poland, you guys run around with big pole arms. I mean, Ollo, you love running around with a giant axe. So,
yeah.
But you also have very good grapplers. I think that Poland has a very well balanced team. You understand how to move and put yourself in specific positions. I haven't watched your Prime fights specifically. I've glanced at all the different Prime fights and everything else like that, but I haven't watched specifically. But watching you guys fight, you have a very good balance to things. You know when to grapple. You know when you have choppy boys. You know when to go and send a guy over there. It's one of those things that I've really noticed. And fighting against you guys, I've seen the same thing. So, just thoughts.
Thanks very much. We appreciate your opinion.
Yeah, my opinion doesn't mean shit. We all know that. I'm just some loud guy. I'm just a loud guy on the internet. Anybody have any questions in chat? We've got all a manner of people randomly jumping in. Igor, Lance Gasway, Poland fighters rock. Of course they do. I mean, also Polish fighters are everywhere. Like there. I know there's Polish fighters on. There's guys from Poland on almost every team in the IMC in Baden.
Like Chinese.
Yeah. I think Pavel made that comment. They're like we're like the Chinese. We're everywhere. We'll get everywhere. Like goddamn. So. Do you have anything that you want to put forward? Anything you want to support? I have links to all these guys in the description. You guys check those out. Everybody in the chat and everybody watching this. Anything you want to specifically make name to?
Yes, if the people are still listening, us,
they are.
It will be really fine, and we will appreciate if you like our fan page, if you share our fan page and our YouTube channel. This will help to get to the person and involve more people. Mm-hmm. So everybody wins.
I definitely I have a link tree and everything else like that. My admin's putting it up into the chat and all that stuff. Like check out my link tree, Paul the Barbarian, all over the goddamn place. Check out the Polish team. What's the team name? YouTube channel?
Hey, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. That's in the link. I have no idea how to spell that. So I want to thank you guys for coming on. I want to thank everybody in chat for being around. Oh, wait. Do you guys know what the Chapter Wars format is?
Chapter Wars format?
It's the different clubs in the United States. Like we have the different clubs in the United States. They all fight. It's like a league tournament.
Yeah.
Where they all come together and they fight each other. How do you usually do that? Do you just have all the local teams come together and you fight 2 out of 3s, or do you have like 2 teams show up and they have a tournament themselves?
We are normally doing tournaments like the Buhurt League. So all the teams from Poland are in one league, and they're coming and fighting in 2 groups, and then the semifinals, finals, and so on. But right now, due to COVID, we cannot make tournaments. So we figure out going with one team to another team's place and fight like 5 or 6 matches. I don't remember how many exactly we had last time.
A lot.
But we did that twice. Once we gathered our team and went to Lublin, to Lviv, and then fight with them. And 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, it was we went to another second Polish team, Legenda Północy, and we were fighting with them for a whole day. So
the way
it's like the tournament fighting with each other, but it also was a training for us.
Yeah. With underground tournament, without the people around, without the informations.
Yeah,
this is hidden
just for us.
Just for us.
Well, the way that we do it over here in the States is that you bring your 5-on-5 team, like the 2 clubs bring their teams, and then you fight first to 11. First to whoever wins 11 points for the match. So you can do 5-on-5s, you can do 3-on-3s, you could do like rounds of 1-on-1 sword, buckler, sword, and shield. You can make them worth a point, and whoever gets 11 points first wins the match.
Cool. Oh.
Or there's another way where you have 4 15-minute quarters, like it takes an hour, but you have 4 15-minute quarters, and however many fights you get in that 15 minutes, that's however, like, whoever wins that amount of points, you take a 10-minute rest, and then you do another 15 minutes of fighting, and it's however many fights you get in that 15 minutes, and you have a running clock that kind of goes along with it. That's two different ways. I like the chapter match format where you bring two teams together and whoever wins 11 points first. It's a very easy way to get more fighting out of a tournament rather than fighting a bunch of 2 out of 3s, like you do in a regular, like, Buhurt League tournament. It doesn't require getting all of these people to come to one tournament. You can have multiple small little things and you can schedule it a lot easier. Jay came up with that back when it was the ACL, and now he's got the ACS does it and runs it. And I thought that it's a very good format to get more fighting, gives you more experience, and you don't have to try and schedule 5 other teams to show up one place on one weekend.
Cool.
Just a thought. We've done a lot of it in the United States, and we've seen major marketed upticks in skill. We've seen the skill progress because of having more chapter matches and being able to do those smaller ends. Just because we are so spread out across the giant country, get together with your local people rather than trying to have one national tournament or 2 national tournaments a year kind of thing. So
in Poland, it's probably a little bit easier to organize a tournament
Just a
when
little
all your teams from one country can be at the same place, because like it's 1,000 kilometers only from
like,
one part to another. So
I think Texas is probably bigger than Poland. I don't know, probably not. It probably actually is. One of our states is big as the country kind of thing. It's a very different how you're able to organize things and do different things, and that's kind of why I've been doing this. And that's kind of why I've been doing this, because I want to hear the perspective of you guys going through things compared to what we deal with. And trying to see how we can learn from each other and make the sport that much better. I think that's the real push for all of this, is trying to make our sport that much better. So I think we're going to go ahead and cut it off here. I want to thank you guys for joining me, doing this thing across the list, Buhurt around the world. Whole bunch of nutty stuff.
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
I want to thank everybody for being in the chat and joining us, asking questions. I don't know who I'm going to be talking to next week, but I'll figure it out. And I think that's good. I want everybody to be safe, have a good day, and also get vicious or get the fuck out.
See ya, guys.
See ya.